Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another SLG Meetup. Your host Álvaro Núñez to bring you another successful and interesting guest. Today we have with us somebody very special. It is considered A-list top designer in the world. She's a very successful interior designer that has been featured in all sorts of different magazines, and her name is Paloma Contreras. She's gonna talk about how she has been developed such a successful career in this industry. She also has two books, The Dream Design and her newest book, 𝐄𝐩𝐢 𝐒𝐿. And she's also been doing collections for Visual Comfort & Co. and 𝐄𝐩𝐢 1889. She has been doing all sorts of projects in modern luxury homes, meeting traditional. So she's gonna tell us all about her angle and what makes her so special. So, Paloma Contreras. Hola, Paloma.
I'm great.
How are
you,
you?
Álvaro?
Fantastic, fantastic. It's such a pleasure to have you here
Likewise.
with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Where are you joining us
I'm actually,
from? Houston,
yes, I'm
Texas?
in my office in Houston.
Amazing, wonderful. See, that's one of those destinations that I haven't been, but it's booming, especially in real estate. So a lot of amazing homes and those that you are taking care of to make
That's
them
right.
so special.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot happening here. It's a big city. It's not one that people come to for tourism like Miami where you are. So understandable that you haven't been yet, but there's a lot happening in terms of the real estate market for sure. Lots of beautiful homes.
So let's start with how did all started? How did you decide to become an interior designer? Because you've been over 2 decades in the industry, and now you've become, according to Elle magazine, A-list as one of the top interior designers in the world. And not only that, but you've been also featured in all these different magazines and press as the go-to interior designer. And I love one of the things that says here, which is the signature modern meets traditional aesthetics. And I think that you have a very unique approach, but I don't know if this is something that you always wanted to do or it kind of evolved over time.
Well, it certainly evolved over time. Design is actually a second career for me. I was previously a high school Spanish teacher. So I majored in
Wow.
Spanish and minored in Italian studies. So foreign languages were always, I'm a native Spanish speaker, but languages were my first love. And so that's what I did for a little while after graduating from university. And in 2007, I started a blog out of summer boredom, and it very quickly took on a focus of design. My husband and I had bought our first house around that time, and so I was looking for inspiration and wasn't finding a lot. And so I really just started to focus in on the things that I was inspired by. And it took a very, just sort of organic approach. And over time, people started to notice and to read. This was when blogs were very new. So I kind of got in on the basement floor, if you will, the ground floor. And I was able to grow a really big following. And from that, over the course of quite a few years, I sort of established myself in the industry, made a lot of great contacts, started to take on some clients. So I'm not formally trained, been exposed to incredible mentors over the years. The people that I admire that have been in this industry for decades were very kind to me because I had given them press when I had a blog and gave me all kinds of advice and resources over the years. So that certainly was a tremendous foundation to start with. But I've had my firm now for, I think 11 years, 12 years. And we do projects all over the country. So we're in Florida quite often, actually. We do a lot of work there. We've worked in Palm Beach and up north. Up north in the Panhandle, Alice Beach. We just installed a project. We're actually working on something at the Ocean Reef Club in Key Largo. So not too far from Miami. I think we fly into Miami to get there. So yeah, I mean, we go where the work takes us, and we've been fortunate to work on all types of homes and a variety of architectural vernaculars.
I love that. Well, look, you just mentioned two different spots here in South Florida that I love. Palm Beach, which I'll be going this weekend, and then Ocean Reef, which I have a lot of friends that are there. So I'll be paying attention to your design. But you mentioned something very interesting, right? So you started by being a high school Spanish teacher, and you had that approach to what you wanted to do in life, and you started developing this additional passion for homes, specifically interior designs, and you started a blog and you build a community, you build an audience, you build that knowledge and trust over time, which you transitioned 2 decades later into your social media, which you have a big following, you have a good community. But one of the things that I see in what you're doing is that you've not only just evolved that community, but you've also been tapping into becoming the go-to person in everything, right? So you have a collection that you're providing for different companies. Then you're also having your own shop. You started your own book. So how does somebody structure which approach to go to become that known interior designer that people want to work with?
Well, I think one thing that's really important to mention is I didn't set out with a plan to do all of these things necessarily. They really just evolved over time as opportunities came up, or as I really sort of tapped into how I wanted to structure my business and diversify it. I think it's really important, regardless of what industry you're in, to have more than one stream of revenue. Real estate's unpredictable. Our industries are very tied together. When the real estate market is tough, people aren't hiring you to do design. So it's important to have a variety of revenue streams. But I will say, for anybody who is in the midst of their career or thinking about this and thinking about all of these different sort of avenues of design and how they might support a design firm or be part of an overall brand, I do think it's really important to work with people to help you to strategize. So I have a wonderful publicist who's been with me for a long time, since before I started my first since I published my first book. And so she's really helped me to be strategic. But the most important thing has been relationships, and just really establishing and understanding the importance of relationships in the industry, whether it's with clients, contractors, furniture manufacturers, the people that would eventually go on to be my licensing partners. So, you know, I would say the most important thing, if your goal is to have product lines, if your goal is to publish books, is first and foremost, focus on your work and do the best work that you can. Social media is an amazing platform, and I feel like I've really been able to build a lot of my career based off of social media. However, it's really easy to get caught up in all the noise around you and the pressure of what everybody else is doing. So I think do the best work that you can do and establish a great foundation. Be a pleasure to work with, be really professional, really good at your craft, and then all of those other things will come. So if you're focusing on designing beautiful interiors, then you're going to have projects to showcase in a book, right? Photographers are going to want to work with you. Good stylists are going to want to work with you. More clients will hire you. And then the book, especially a first book, is a really important marketing tool, because it allows you to reach a broader audience. And so people that may not already follow you or know about you will discover you. And then brands start to pay attention. And so that's really something that you want to have in your arsenal when you're looking to do brand partnerships or licensing collaborations for product. All of those things matter. So I'd say do the best work that you can, work on a first book. Hopefully there's more that come after that. And then those partnerships really tend to follow. And I think once you have a couple of good ones, I'm very fortunate to work with Visual Comfort for lighting, and Schumacher on trims and textiles. Those are amazing industry partners. They're highly recognized, the best in the business at what they each do. So having those particular licensing partners, I think, would make me more attractive to, you know, potential furniture partners or different categories, because I sort of have the stamp of approval, if you will, from these other very established names. So it's relationships at the end of the day is what it boils down to.
No, I love that. I mean, network is your net worth, right? And it all comes down to building that community that not just represents the people that love interior design, but also those that you work with. And you said it right there. You take care of the work will take care of you. So just make sure you focus on continuously developing your craft and staying consistent at it, right? Because you've been very consistent at it, and that's what kept you giving that momentum to keep on doing more projects. Now, one thing that we want to talk about, of course, is interior design. So what's trending right now that you've seen all these different changes, especially with COVID, and what is trending in the luxury interior design space?
Well, I think people are still gravitating towards a more sort of contemporary aesthetic. Materials are really important. I think people love the idea of texture and comfort these days. So, you know, you see a lot of beautiful oak finishes and textural fabrics and beautiful metal finishes, and the way that all of that comes together tells, you know, really rich stories. So a lot of people are still coming to us for that. My work skews a little bit more traditional than probably what you're seeing in the Miami real estate market. I know you guys go a little bit more contemporary there, but it's really about the mix. It's about telling a story for the client. You know, who are they? Where have they traveled? What do they care about? What are they passionate about? And bringing together, the thing that I really enjoy is bringing together elements and pieces from different periods and styles and eras to create a very layered look that's much more personal and a little less recognizable in terms of when a house was designed. You know, we want things to feel really timeless and to have staying power.
Mm. And you're talking about that verb, right? Like feeling. Because I like how in your design, that approach is about not just how it looks, but how it feels.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the first questions I ask a client is, how do you want your home to feel? Because we're going to make it look beautiful no matter what. But the most important thing is, how do you want the house to feel? How do you like to entertain? Is it more casual? Are you more formal? Do you have children and pets running around? All of those things really matter. And, you know, I'll even ask them questions about different preferences. You know, what is your favorite hotel? And you may think, well, what does my favorite hotel have to do with my house? Well, it evokes a feeling in you, right? When you're at your favorite hotel, staying there are details, there are elements that contribute to your overall experience beyond just like, what is the thread count on the linens? And
Right.
there are certainly bits and pieces of that we can incorporate into somebody's house.
I like that question. How do you want it to feel? I think that it applies to not just interior design. It could be applied to so many things just to get a better understanding on what that person really wants. Because now you're talking about something that is bringing an emotion out of the person, right? And it's much more likely that you can connect on emotions than just on some visuals or facts that might not touch the heart. So it's a good question. I think that I'm going to start applying it for many different things. So I like that. Now, tell me a little bit about what's going on with your inspiration. Now, is that something that you acquire through traveling? I know that you also move around and you've been doing these blogs for a while, but where do you have that main source of inspiration?
Well, yes, as cliche as it sounds, travel is my biggest source of inspiration. I'm definitely a Francophile. I love France. I love Paris in particular, and that is important to me in terms of finding inspiration. I think even if I can't get over to Europe, just getting on an airplane and going somewhere other than my normal day to day helps my eye to pick up on different details and to see differently. You know, it was Diana Vreeland, the former Vogue editor from decades ago, that said the eye has to travel. And it's so true. Just exposing yourself to things that are out of your daily routine is so important, because you'll look at things differently. You notice different details. You're inspired by, you know, how different the sky looks in a different city than your own, or, you know, just the colors in nature even can be so inspiring. But all of those elements in travel, particularly in Paris for me, you know, anything as specific as a doorknob detail, iron railings on a Haussmann building, like those things I have diluted down into inspiration for, you know, fabric designs, trim designs, lighting. Like, I find inspiration everywhere. It's super important, especially, you know, not only on the design side for interiors, but for product, I find it super, super important.
Mhm. Yeah, that is so true, right? When you step out of that box that we live in, you start seeing things differently, and then you can start building a different box or a different sorts of environment for yourself and for those that you work with. Now, when you work with clients, how do you keep that balance of what you believe is best and what the client's needs or wants are? How do you
Well,
keep that
it's a
balance?
fine line. That's a great question, and it's a dance that we do constantly. I like to kid that interior designers wear many hats, marriage counselor and psychiatrist or psychologist. I can't prescribe a psychologist among them. Um, you're
Wow.
dealing with people and personalities, and you're dealing with the most important possession they own, their home. It's their
Mhm.
sanctuary, and there's a lot of money involved, and you're in their home, like in their closet, and seeing intimate details about their lives. And so their needs are always paramount. We take function as seriously as we do form. Beauty is important, but we want the home to be comfortable and to evoke that feeling we were talking about for the client. That being said, sometimes some clients can be a little bit more challenging, or they want to be more involved, or they need more hand holding in terms of getting to the finish line with decisions. And when we have maybe a little bit of tension or trouble getting to a decision because they're having doubts, or they're listening to their neighbor or their adult children or whomever, I just like to remind them of the trust that we need to build. That's the most important thing.
Mhm.
Like, please just trust me that I'm doing my absolute best work on your behalf, and that I know what I'm doing. And we've done this a million times before. So, if there's an issue, 9 times out of 10, we find the middle ground. We're always going to find the middle ground. I'm always going to take the client's um, desires and their concerns into account, and making them happy is my first priority. But if there's something that I feel really strongly about, that I think is right for the home, and doing something else is a mistake, then I definitely will mention that in a kind way, and a diplomatic way. I always find a nice
Mhm.
way to say it, but sometimes, you have to trust the professional in the room, and they have to remember that they hired you for a reason.
Very true, very true. Sometimes we give up too soon because we believe that, oh my God, this person wants
Mhm.
this and that. And then you start doing everything based on what they say, because client first. But if you're confident of your craft and of what you're doing, then the person hire you for a reason. So you gotta stay confident on that path.
Yeah.
So it's a really funny fine line, right? That you gotta dance, as you mentioned. But good approach. Now, talking about everything that you've been doing, I always ask a question to all of our guests, which is, what does luxury mean to you?
Oh, luxury to me, I think the ultimate luxury is time. I would say time, comfort, in the sense of interior design, or from the perspective of a client. Hiring an interior designer is going to save you an exorbitant amount of time. And believe it or not, I mean, obviously you're going to spend a lot of money in the end, but we're saving you money in the sense that if you were to try doing all the same things on your own, you would probably make a lot of costly mistakes. So time, really, to me, it's the one currency in life that you can't acquire more of. There's a finite amount, and the only thing that we can control is how we spend it. And obviously, for any working person, especially an ambitious working person, that's a challenge, and one that is very present on my mind because I have a young daughter, and so I want to spend as much time with her as I can. Um, and so that's, yeah, I mean, the ultimate luxury is time. And when relating it back to services or experiences, you want to spend your time wisely and in an enjoyable way.
100%. I love that. So true. So last question for you, Paloma. Now, if you have to put all this together, all these 2 decades in the industry and all the different lessons, experiences, what is one of the main takeaways that you will share with the audience?
Oh gosh, I think consistency is key. Working really hard, doing the best that you can do, honing your craft. I have never gotten to a place where I felt like I know everything there is to know, or I've really made it. And I know that I've been successful. I know that I've had many triumphs in my career span, but I don't feel like I'm at the top of the heap and I've got it all figured out. I still have that I don't know, imposter syndrome or whatever. Like I still feel ambitious, and I know that there's more to do and more that I would like to accomplish. The consistency is the biggest thing. You know, as we add more things to our plate, we have different books that we've written. We're doing different product designs in addition to, you know, designing homes for clients. I have a retail store. All of those things, you know, I still want to be the best that I can be at those things. And then I am being a mother to that. And so it's a lot of direction to be pulled in. But just showing up, I think, is huge, and doing consistently good work and consistently working to improve oneself.
I love that. You know, yesterday I had a different interview and somebody says the same thing about consistency, how it builds distance, right? Because it's about that compound that you create by being consistent. So you saying that, it makes so much sense to see everything that you have accomplished over all these years. So I appreciate you sharing your story, appreciating some of the insights that you share with us today. And for those that want to read your book or connect with you, where can they find, because I mean, you have 2 books, but the latest one that you have here, where can they find it?
They can get it on Amazon. So it's called The New Classic Home, published by Abrams. You can also visit my website, PalomaContreras.com, and that has links to everything we've talked about today. So you can find my books there, product, you can look at our design portfolio and visit my store and all of those things.
You have a lot of amazing things in there for people to look. So I definitely encourage everybody to look Paloma up and connect. And if you have any questions or any inquiries about designing a beautiful home, reach out to her. She's amazing. So I appreciate your time, Paloma. Thank you again. Muchas gracias. And whenever you are coming down this way to either Palm Beach or Ocean Reef, make sure you stop here in Miami, and we'll show you also some amusing homes.
Wonderful. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Alvaro.
Nos vemos.
Chao.
Chao.